right off the ground there. Alright guys, break-in ride on the brand new Raptor. 2024 Raptor 700R SE. If you missed the last video, we just got this new quad. Check it out, I'll leave a link below. But yep, checked all the fluids, did all the pre-ride checks and all that stuff, and we're gonna take it out on its first spin, bone stock. So let's do it. All right guys, so we are I want to put like about an hour on it and then drop the oil and put some AMS oil in it. So that's the goal here today. I'm going to put about an hour on the bike. The only thing I've done to it, I did say it was bone stock, and it is, but I did just put my steering stabilizer on it from my blue Raptor that I took off before I got rid of that one, and I put that on this. So other than that, the quad's totally stock. I haven't done a single thing to it. So, and I'm actually looking forward to this ride because, I mean, obviously not only to break in a new machine, but I don't remember what it was like riding my other Raptor stock. I piped it and tuned it like after 5 hours of owning it, and that was, you know, 3.5 years ago, so I don't even remember what it was like stock. Obviously you got to keep the throttle down under 50% here for the first tank or so, which I know some people pin it to win it right off the bat, but I do not do that. Break it in nice, and oh, we're gonna stay out of that. What's interesting is I've only been riding it here for a couple minutes, but it's crazy. My blue one I had about 127, 128 hours on it when I got rid of it, and I took very, very good care of that thing. And to me, it was pretty clean, pretty tight. Everything felt good on it. But hopping on this brand new 0 hours, it's crazy the difference you can feel on the brand new one versus what you had, even though it's well maintained and it's got some hours on it. So it's like when you use something over time and it slowly breaks down and parts slowly wear in and wear out, you don't really notice it because it's not a sudden thing that happens. It happens over the course of hours and riding and years and months. And then when you hop on a brand new one like this, it's like, holy cow, how tight everything is. Even the shifting of the transmission is like more notchy. You can kind of feel it engaging more. And my blue one, not that it was sloppy at all, I never noticed anything. It felt pretty tight to me, but you can feel the difference on this one. Even the clutch, more grabby. The front brake levers got more bite. So, and the other one was all original. I never changed the brakes. The pads were still good, but maybe it was time for new brake fluid. Could have been. But yeah, it's just crazy hopping on a new one. And I tell you what, man, that was like quarter throttle. These things are just so fast. It's crazy how fast these Raptors are, bone stock. And everybody likes to get them and throw a bunch of money at more power because, and I understand the temptation because they are just so powerful out of the box, and they wake up big time with anything you do to it. And it's so easy to make a gobs of power out of these motors that the temptation is always there, you know, for a lot of people to have the biggest and the baddest, and you know, put cams and the big three and all this stuff on it right off the bat, and they don't really enjoy it stock. I'm not saying I enjoy the way it sounds stock. I think it's a little too quiet for my liking. I will say I think it sounds better than the YFZ stock. I think the Raptor in general, even with exhausts, are always louder than the YFZs. in sense that just a more of a deeper, like punchier sound. And it's just because the motor is not as revvy as the and the bore is bigger than the YFZ, you know, and it's not as revvy as the 450 is. But the this bike, I'm just cruising obviously in fourth, but if I downshift or get on it, the exhaust is way more throaty. I rode 2 stock YFZs, most recently Ian's Square One Speeds. He just bought one, and man, that thing sounds like a weed eater, the stock YFZs. But I'm not saying the Raptor sound great, but a little more noise than the stock YFZ. But yeah, to get back to like the people wanting to add power right off the bat, I think that's a natural temptation. Everybody always wants bigger, badder, better. But I think really the best thing to do with these, once you get them, is add some protection stuff first. You know, skid plate, case saver, stuff that's going to make your ride more comfortable. Maybe some anti-vibe bars, or at least the steering stabilizer in case, which is what I have. Because the YFZs out of the box handle better than the Raptor, and then the Raptors out of the box are faster than the YFZs. So to kind of bridge that gap and have the best of both worlds, really the best thing to do first is, in my opinion anyway, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, is help the handling and the comfort and the protection areas of the Raptor, and then do the power mods. And then even then, aside, you honestly don't even need the big 3 on this thing. You can just an exhaust, which I ran on my blue one, an exhaust and a tune for like 3 years before I put an intake on it. And then even when I did the intake, I didn't do the FCI, which a lot of people do. And I know, again, that's just the, you know, biggest and baddest competition. Everybody's like FCI, but I will tell you, having the stock airbox and the Pro Design intake and the ability to run a cover and even put my stock cover back on saved my butt on more than one occasion with water and all that stuff. Even extra dust on like a long trip where you're riding 3-4 days and you don't have an extra filter, you just run what you brought. To me, I'd rather have reliability and sure-mindedness that there's not going to be no problems with the machine. Ooh, there's a washout. We've been getting a ton of rain. I've been meaning to do this ride sooner. I got this thing over a week ago, and a week and a half ago. I haven't even ridden it yet. So it's every evening. I've been trying to go out in the evenings, and it's monsoon season here in Arizona. I know some of you don't think it rains here. In the summertime, it's just hot and dry, but actually this is when we get most of our rain. It's the monsoon season. Usually in the evening, if you're familiar with weather in Florida, you know how you get those thunderstorms kind of roll in, and 3 or 4 o'clock out of nowhere, you'll get these thunderstorms come rolling in. That's kind of the same way in Arizona. They'll just start getting black, like by the mountains, and the storms will just start rolling forward, rolling up from the south, and you can get some pretty gnarly storms, and you'll see all these washouts. So, you see that little popping on decel right there. That's the, it's got the air injection system from the factory. That's that'll be the first mod actually we do, just to get rid of that. It's not really so much of, I guess you can classify it as a performance mod, but it's more just reliability thing. I mean, it makes it run a little leaner. From the factory with that. It's an emissions thing, so Yamaha has to put them on them. Everything I've owned in recent years has that stuff, so even the carbureted stuff, my son's Honda 250 has it, and you can just bypass all that stuff. So we'll get rid of that, get a case saver, get a skid plate, and then run it like this for a while. Maybe get new grips. I always go with the lock-on grips, so I can just take them off of the stock bars and put them on a new set of bars when I get them eventually, when I decide what I'm going to do. And so it's not spending money twice. But the stock grips are like bars of rock. It's going to actually probably be one of the first things to go. I'm thinking about that right now. So So fast, these things, it's crazy. If you're familiar with one, you know how to ride one, you can ride the hell out of these stock suspension if you have the suspension set up right. And when I say set up right, I just mean compression, rebound, stuff like that. After owning my other one for a while, I kind of fine-tuned it to the point where it did pretty good on everything. Bottom out resistance and not rolling over in corners so much. And the rear shocks on these have a tendency to buck a little bit if you go with the factory settings, like what it is in the book, which is about 1 1/4 turns out on the high speed, and whereas the front shocks they recommend 1 1/2 turns out, and 2 full turns out is maximum soft. So on the rear shock they recommend in the book to a starting setting 1 1/4 turns out, and then the clickers on the clicker on the low speed compression in the middle, and the clickers on the rebound in the middle. So what I've realized after having it for a while and playing with different settings is I softened up the high speed compression on the rear shock. This way it'll take that initial hit without bouncing you up in the back a little better, allow it to go through travel, and it still doesn't bottom out. And then I slow down the rebound. So in other words, turning the clicker on the rebound in about 3 or 4 clicks from the stock setting, and that helps it from bouncing in the back. And then between that and a little bit softer high speed, I don't really have any bucking issues with it, riding it that way, and it handles pretty good for me. So the front shocks I have right now stock settings. I could on my blue one, I think what I ended up doing was running a 1/4 turn stiffer on the high speed, and everything else stock, just for the big hits, like the big whoops, more or less. The front shocks will bottom out a little bit, so 1/4 turn stiffer on the front and a 1/4 turn softer on the rear seems to be good. You can run the front stock right now, that's what they are, and they're handling great. So I'm going to run them like this, and if I feel like I need more bottoming out resistance in the front, I'll just increase the high speed again like I did on my last one. But so far it feels good. I'm obviously not running it too hard, but breaking it in. It's got also haven't been out on the trails here too, so as you've seen, there's a bunch of washouts from all the rain we've been having. Surprised there is not more mud actually, but you see where all the water runs through across the trail. It's a lot of areas that's just rutted out, and you hit one of those hard, you're gonna have a bad day. One thing I do notice already, and could be that you'll see I'm not wearing my riding boots or my riding pants today, kind of just out on a leisurely little cruise to break this thing in, but I can feel more heat on my leg than I did on my blue one. And my blue one was tuned obviously and had an exhaust on it and an air intake at the end, so I think that's just the tuning, you know, running lean from the factory. And that AIS will put more heat in your exhaust too, that air injection system we talked about earlier, so deleting that will help a little bit. So, but yeah, I mean, this thing runs mint stock. I mean, you could literally buy it, run it like this forever and never do anything to it. Change your oil regularly. First oil change, I really recommend, like after the first hour. Like first check your oil level first of all. And when you check your oil level, folks, I see so many questions on Facebook Raptor pages and on forums and social media in general, even on YouTube videos, like, oh, I checked my oil and it looks low, or I checked my oil and it's over full. Most of the people aren't checking their oil correctly. These are dry sump systems, so you have an oil tank external. Yeah, see right there, just barely getting on that, you know, third throttle, and the front end wanted to pull up already. I mean, these things are just loaded with power, and these are bone stock tires too. These stock tires are not known for having gobs of grip. So But yeah, when you check your oil on these, so you want the bike to be cold. So the best time to do it is like before you first ride. You know, say you go out to the garage, you go out in your shed, you pull the bike, you get the bike out, ready to go. Start it, let it idle without touching the throttle. Just let it idle, bring it up to operating temperature, and then shut it off. Let it sit about 30 seconds to a minute. Pull the dipstick from the tank, wipe it clean, and then just stick it in. Don't screw it in. Pull it out again. You should be at full, or just about full at that. You know, checking it that way. You have to check it that way. You can't check it when you've been riding it, it's hot, because then it may look over full. And then you can't check it when it's cold without warming it up, because it's going to look low. Because the oil from the tank, first of all, runs back into the motor, and also the oil's colder. It's not as expanded. When the oil expands, it gets bigger as it heats up. It takes up more room. So that's why just read the owner's manual. Do it exactly like that. If you get a new one, read the owner's manual anyway. You should be. Don't rely on information from people. Even me, I'm not telling you to listen to what I tell you either, but that's why I'm telling you. Read the owner's manual, and you'll see exactly what I said to do to check your oil levels, is what it says in the manual. And with doing a proper oil change after that, you know, just about 2 quarts of oil for an oil change. My oil is always dead on, spot full. You know, I put about a little over half a quart in the engine, and then the rest of that quart and another full quart in the tank. And it's 1.95 quarts, I think, with a oil change with a filter. So I just do it. 2 quarts. It's always been good. And yeah, so that's that. That's enough on the oil. And it's really washed out here. That's see, third gear right there. I was still in third. And that's what I'm saying about the torque on these things. Nice downshift the second now, but like I was practically crawling over that washout, and just give it the gas and it pulls it right out. These Raptors are amazing. That's one reason I like them better than the YFC, because honestly you can ride them lazier. You can pretty much not shift all day. And just, you can crawl it, you can plug it, you can rev it out. It likes whatever you give it, and it's got power wherever you give it. So it's actually got more power in the low RPMs with all the torque down low. So if when you're lugging it like that, and then you jab the throttle, it's got more torque there. So that's when you're gonna really you're gonna see it's gonna want to stand up a little bit, and you're revving the piss out of it. That's when you know, it's more horsepower than torque at that point, and you're not gonna have a tendency to wheelie it at that point. You're just gonna pretty much blow the tires off the back. It's just gonna spin out. You can see on hard, sudden decelerations, you can hear a little bit of pop in the exhaust. It's just like it's not like a pop pop pop. It's just like one little poof, kind of. Sounds like air shooting out, and that's just from that AIS. So we'll get that block off and get rid of that, and then we'll do a case saver, skid plate, and I think that's going to be it for a while on this. I just want to enjoy its stock a little bit, but after the break-in today, we'll get about an hour on the bike, and you know, an hour at least. I want to get an hour or two, even up to 2 hours would be fine, but I don't see myself riding 2 hours. It's about 100 degrees right now, so then I'll dump the oil, do an oil change, and then we'll do a second oil change at like 10 hours. And then I always do on mine every 10 hours oil changes. It's very important to change oil as much as possible, more than the owner's manual tells you in that regard, because But the owner's manual is telling you for oil changes is minimal required maintenance. I always go to the extreme and change it more often because oil is a lot cheaper than a motor, and it's just the oil is shared in these, not like the Hondas where you have trans oil and engine oil separate, and then you just, you know, the oil breaks down a lot faster in here because it's lubricating your top end. It's 4 strokes, lubricating your top end. It's lubricating your transmission, your clutch, all your gears, your crank, everything is beating the hell out of that oil and then destroying it. So I change my oil every 10 hours. I use AMSOIL Dirt. That's the oil I use. It's meant for dirt bikes and, you know, racing ATVs. So really good stuff. You can use whatever you like. I just don't like to use the Yamaha lube, and that's why I want to get it out as quick as possible. Because if you know anything about Raptors, if you've been into them for a while, you'll know the name Cuervo Racing. He's out of Oregon. He races, drag races Raptors, builds drag Raptors and all that stuff, and he does motors. He's like pretty much the guru of Raptors. Most engine builders you talk to for ATVs will tell you, will know who Cuervo is, and if they don't know who he is, they're probably friends with him even, and they will tell you that he is pretty much the master on Raptor builds and engines and knowledge on Raptor 700s, and he'll tell you that the Yamaha lube's not good oil, and he recommends dumping it out as soon as possible. And based on what he's saying is almost every Raptor he's had come in with low hours and bad clutch, the bike has had Yamaha lube in it, and that's what's run. And aside from user error, obviously, but the oil just doesn't protect the clutches that well, according to him. And he's the one who builds these things. He builds these engines. I trust him. So, and honestly, I would use AMSOIL anyway. I use it in everything I own. It's really, really good stuff. Top of the line synthetic. So I'm gonna take a quick break here and have some water. Let the bike cool off. It is breaking in. So, and then we'll pick back up with you. All right, guys. So I had to cool off a little bit. It was a little hot. The bike was probably a little hot too. Although when it's 100 degrees outside, it's kind of hard to cool off anything. But check the hour meter, which I put on, and I put the hour meter on when I brought it home. That's why I keep track of everything. And it said 0.6. So I'm gonna take this trail all the way back out, and I know I did a ton of talking on the way in, so I'll do a little less talking on the way out. Just kind of enjoy the beautiful sounds of a stock Raptor. Just third gear here, then riding third. Third gear is awesome on the Raptor. You can pretty much ride all day in it, honestly. You see, as fast as that seemed like I just took off there, I was like quarter to a third throttle. These things are insane. These stock tires, I'll tell you, I haven't had a GBC XT Masters on my last one, and they're heavy tires, but they're so durable. But they do not slide at all. Out here, sometimes their foot slide fine. There's a lot of loose stuff, but these stock tires, man, they just whip around like the whole bike come whipping around on you. So, kind of getting used to that, not riding it like my last one. Woo! Right off the ground there. She got power. Who needs more power than this, really, honestly? Thing's an absolute animal. I'm sitting a lot through most of this. Suspension is really good on the Raptors. See what I mean? That it just slides around real easy. I wasn't even trying to. See, I didn't even downshift there, still third gear up that hill. See how fast it just pulls out. And that's just, if I did that in YFZ, I would probably have stalled it, or it would have been sputtering. It doesn't have that same torque curve. A lot of quads don't, honestly, but the Raptors are almost like cheating in that sense. Make sure you can ride lazy, like I was saying. Not that that's a good thing, but it's nice for unexpected stuff. At the dunes, it's great. I'm gonna take this way back, a little more fun trail. But yeah, I love it at the dunes. It just pulls up everything and straight up sand walls, and just put the paddles on. And I'm actually anxious to ride it this year, stock, and see how it feels different compared to my blue one. I'm sure it'll be fine. My buddies ride. There's the dune stock. These gloves are slippery. I took them out in the rain, my dirt bike out, and it rained on me 2 weeks ago. And I had these gloves on, and they got soaking wet, and now like my fingers are like slipping off the clutch lever. So I gotta wear different gloves next time. But yeah, my Larry and Scott, they're Raptors, they're bone stock. They haven't done anything to them except the steering stabilizer, and it's honestly, it's all you need. The exhaust is nice for the sound, make it sound good. For power, you don't need it. I mean, you just don't need more power than this. Anybody tells you do, unless you're drag racing and that's all you do, you absolutely need no more power than this thing gives you out of the box. You know, it's like 45 horsepower. It's crazy. I am amazed though at how much tighter everything feels. I shouldn't be. I know it's a brand new unit. My other one was 3.5 years old. Had 125 hours on it, but to me it felt great. But it's just like I was saying earlier, it goes to show you, up on a brand new one, sometimes you don't realize how much wear you have on yours, on anything for that matter. It's like shocks on your car. You know, you get a car brand new and you drive it, and by 60,000 miles you're like, you don't think, you know, shocks are fine, you don't need to do anything, and then you find one of your shocks are leaking or whatever, and you change all your shocks, and then you get back and drive it and your car again, and you're like, holy cow, So it's just, you know, it goes bad slowly over time. You don't notice those things. Things wear out a little bit, a little bit. It's like being around your kids every day. You don't realize how much they're growing. And then you don't see them, or you don't see your nieces and nephews or something for 4 or 5 months. And then you're like, holy cow, you guys grew. And it appears you don't see them every day. Same thing with the wear and tear on your vehicles. That big rock come up there and hit me in the ankle. That didn't tickle. Another reason you should be wearing your boots, and I am not. So there's a lesson learned. What's funny is I never wore riding boots until 2 years ago. I started wearing them, and yeah, my whole life I never wore riding boots. I always wore work boots, something like what I'm wearing now. And yeah, you take a lot of chances, obviously. So that was just a nice reminder why the boots are important. It's not just to protect your ankles, but stuff coming up and smacking you in the leg or your ankle or your shin. But I think that's probably about it for this one. Probably droned on long enough and wearing the brakes a little bit. I'm gonna ride for a few minutes longer, then I'm gonna take this sucker back and get the oil change done on it. I got the oil already. I gotta run out and grab a filter, so I'll probably go do that. Might even have to do the oil change tomorrow, but I'm gonna get the oil change this weekend. It's Friday today, so hopefully I'll have this video out for you guys on Sunday, I'm thinking. I just dropped a video today about the Jeep, so I'll probably dump this one out Sunday. And then we got some cool dirt bike stuff next couple videos after that. I think you guys stay tuned for that. Some interesting things happening on the channel. So this is Joe at Odyssey Off-Road. Thanks for watching the video. Smash the thumbs up button on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't. Get out there and ride. Buy a new Raptor and be safe. Catch you on the next one.